Prince Harry turns 40 today, but what is there to celebrate? The press have said that today will be focused on time with his family. But which family would that be exactly? Tucked away in his California mansion with his wife and 2 children, he's 5,000 miles away from his father, his brother, his uncles, aunties, cousins, in-laws and friends. Whilst any other 40-year-old would spend this special day surrounded by their nearest and dearest, Harry will mark this milestone in the fake and plastic world of Hollywood, more isolated than he has ever been. What is there to celebrate exactly? Can he celebrate his new social circle, which includes the Obamas, the Clooneys and Oprah Winfrey? Can he celebrate the millions he made from Netflix, earned by throwing his family and his country under the bus? Can he celebrate that dreadful book, Spare, in which he humiliated his brother, Prince William, with revelations of a fight that the 2 men had? Can he celebrate the podcasts and TV interviews in which he implied the royal family and indeed the British media were racist, that Charles was a terrible father and Catherine a less than perfect sister-in-law? Can he celebrate risking the lives of his former military colleagues by boasting about the number of Taliban he killed, thus placing a target on the back of anyone who served with him? Can he celebrate his wife's mocking of Queen Elizabeth II in the aforementioned Netflix documentary, or indeed causing Elizabeth emotional turmoil when, in her dying days, she had to worry about what might be in his tell-all book, no doubt fearing that he would destroy a family and a monarchy to which she had devoted her life? On his 40th birthday, can he celebrate turning his back on a country that once loved him? As a young man who was more popular than even Queen Elizabeth herself, this once fun-loving partygoer, a royal cheeky chappie and military hero, was the adopted son of the nation, only to become a prodigal one. He achieved our collective hearts and won them over, absolutely won them over, following the tragedy of his mother's passing and the unforgivable decision to make him follow her hearse at the funeral at the age of just 12. But Harry took that goodwill and he threw it in our faces. On this, his 40th birthday, it remains clear that Harry loves his wife, Meghan. For him, she is the gift that keeps on giving. But whilst it's my view that Harry must take responsibility for the decisions that he's made in his life, Meghan Markle is the worst thing that's ever happened to him. In my view, his life has changed immeasurably for the worst since they met. Now, they've got a beautiful young family, and I wish the 4 of them well. But Harry before Meghan and Harry after Meghan are barely recognisable as the same human being. It's just my impression, but Harry these days cuts a desolate figure, joyless, bored, sad, lost. Now he really is a spare. It's obvious to me that life in woke California doesn't suit him. He should be necking beers tonight with his old army mates following a robust game of polo. Since that fateful day when he was introduced to Meghan Markle, he has walked away from his family, his friends and his country. And if you think that's a good outcome as he enters his 4th decade, then you're living in La La Land just like the Sussexes themselves. What Meghan wants is what Meghan gets. And she's got everything. She bagged a prince. She's now one of the most famous women in the world. Rich beyond belief, with the world at her expensively pedicured feet. Harry, on the other hand, is a haunted shadow of his former self, picking needless fights with the British press and moaning about his terrible life in his reportedly 16-bathroom Montecito mansion. Now, one gripe he has that I do agree with is that he should have full royal protection when in the UK. Why? Because he didn't choose to be the king's son. So where do we go from here? Well, if Harry has spent the last 4 decades destroying his family, he needs to spend the next 4 rebuilding it. Blood is thicker than water, and I believe the family and even the British people will forgive Harry's indiscretions. But I doubt that anything will change whilst he remains in a relationship that looks to me more like a hostage situation than a marriage. And it certainly won't happen without a sincere and deep apology from the prince to his family, his friends and his country. But I won't hold my breath, because for this entitled young man, sorry seems to be the hardest word. The Duke of Sussex turns 40 today, but you could hardly call it a happy birthday. Harry at 40, your verdict. gbnews.com/your say. First up, tonight's top pundits. Former Brexit Party MEP Annunziata Rees-Mogg, Conservative peer and former advisor to Boris Johnson, Lord Coolvere Ranger, and former top Labour insider Paul Richards. Great to see all three of you. Coolvere, if I could start with you. Harry at 40, your verdict.
It's a big milestone, isn't it, Mark? And I think you did a lot of looking back there in your monologue, and it's hard to disagree with a lot of what you said there. But I was pleased to see today that on what was Twitter, now called X or something, that the royal family and the Prince and Princess of Wales wished Harry a happy birthday. Now, that's the first time since 2001 that they have done that. Now, to some people, that doesn't mean anything. But for those of us on social media that think the world is run by social media and any small smidgen of a tweet or a twat or whatever it is out there means a lot, I think that meant something. So, as someone who's coming to the end of his 40s and I look at the last decade, as a man, it's a time when you've done a lot in your past, but now you're probably going to really use the experience, look after your family, look forward and do those big things probably in your life, which is where Harry enters this decade. So I'm hoping that means bridges to be built, Invictus Games to be delivered, and more of a sort of mature approach to all the challenges that he does quite obviously face.
Annunziata, he will be celebrating one aspect of his birthday, and that's the inheritance of a reported £8 million from the late Queen Mother. Do you think she would be so generous if she'd known what he's been up to since her passing?
I think she fundamentally believed in family, and I doubt that his behaviour would have changed her devotion and dedication to her family. I don't know how much he'll be celebrating if the reports that Meghan was disappointed by how badly off he was are true. But I'd like to take this opportunity to wish him a happy birthday.
Hear, hear.
But I think he has got to realise as he cuts into his birthday cake that you can't have your cake and eat it. That if he wants to be a working royal, he has to work. If he wants to have privacy, he needs to be private. He is expecting everyone to bow to his will. Life is give and take. I think it's his turn to build bridges with his own family and otherwise be quiet, keep his privacy and leave us all alone.
Paul Richards, the Duke of Sussex, turns 40, but it doesn't feel like a happy birthday, does it?
No, I mean, I would take the royals out of our constitution completely if I was given the right to do so, but I recognise the public is not where I am on this. And I think if you are going to have a royal family, they have to have a sense of duty and service. I think he should look to his own father's example, the Prince's Trust, the environmental campaigns, the, big interventions on architecture and all these things, and learn that you can...
Not always welcome, Paul.
Not always welcome, but it can be used as a platform for good. And I think Charles does show that you can do things for good with this role. But he seems to be just a prisoner of his past. He can't transcend his position and do good with it, and he just seems like quite an angry young man.
Indeed. Your reaction to Harry at 40, would you welcome him back to this country with open arms? Let me know your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say.